Selfishly, the reason you should worry about self-bias is because it precludes self-reflection and questioning of deep fundamental assumptions. These deep fundamental assumptions that you don't question constitute your paradigm, which then lead to a distorted view of the world. A distorted view of the world means that you're going to fuck things up badly when you're trying to manipulate systems in the world, because you don't understand them. They're going to backfire on you in catastrophic ways, leading to, of course, death and suffering. Is that a good enough reason for you to care about self-bias? It leads to paradigm lock. It closes down the mind. It leads to cultural intolerance. It leads to violence, hatred, anger, judgment, and demonization of other humans and even non-humans. Leads to oppression, abuse of power, exploitation, enslavement, criminality. Leads to corruption, leads to nepotism. Leads to lying and propaganda. It precludes and retards the evolution of society. It creates unfairness and inequality. Makes healthy relationships virtually impossible. Makes genuine communication virtually impossible between two beings. It precludes responsibility taking, which is a core principle of self-improvement and spirituality. It creates evil, what you consider evil. You see? So if you don't care about self-bias, then you have no right to complain about evil in the world, because evil is the result of self-bias. We are discussing the mechanics of evil here. So don't be perplexed and confused and asking naive questions like, oh, Leo, why does evil exist? Why do bad things happen to good people? Self-fucking bias, that's why. Because everyone is as selfish as you, and nobody cares about it. That's why. And ultimately, the greatest tragedy of self-bias is that it precludes the discovery of truth, absolute truth with a capital T. It precludes the discovery of God. You can't discover God if you're too self-biased. Have you ever wondered why people are such monsters and devils? It's not that they're monsters and devils. They're just blind to their self-biases. As Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Have you ever noticed how you just really don't give a shit about other people's problems? Have you noticed this? I want you to notice this. It's amazing, really. Somebody on TV could have lost their child or their parent. And you're just clicking through the channels and you watch it and you see it and you're like, oh, okay. And then, yeah, it's kind of bad. And then you just kind of move on. But for that person to lose their child or their parent, this is a huge, massive ordeal, a massive problem, huge suffering, grief, torture, the depths of hell for this person for weeks, for months, for years. They're coping with this, just struggling with this. For you, nothing. Not even a second of suffering or pain for you. Why? Why is it such a big problem for them, but not for you? Because a problem isn't a problem unless it affects you. That's your attitude towards life. That's how self-biased you are. Problems don't even exist for you unless they affect you. That's what a problem is. See? Yeah, you just don't care. You don't care. Even if your mom has a problem, a lot of times you just don't care. Why not? Because it doesn't serve you to care. Notice that. Notice how viciously self-biased you are. But then when you have that same problem, oh, now all of a sudden you care. Oh, now it's a giant problem. Now it's a huge drama. It's a huge ordeal. Oh my God, I need help. Leo, please help me. Yeah. Only when it affects you do you care. That's the level of consciousness that you're at right now. But I want you to know that there are higher levels of consciousness where you can care even when something doesn't directly affect you. Have you noticed how partial people are to their own cultures? It's crazy. It's almost cartoonish. It's ridiculous when you zoom out and take a look at how people value their culture and think that their culture is superior, that their culture is the best, their cuisine is the best, their people are the best, their race is the best, their nationality is the best. Their culture has come up with the best inventions, the best science, the best spirituality, the best yoga, the best this, the best the books, the movies, the whatever, the poems, the stories, the language is the best. Self-bias. Blind self-bias. And perhaps the starkest example of self-bias is the way that humans treat death and suffering. Humans just do not care about the death and suffering of other species. Almost not at all. A few advanced humans do, but most humans not at all. And certainly not for most of human history. Why not? Because it didn't serve us to care. But why should it matter? Why should there be a difference between the death of a human and an ant? You know, some celebrity dies in the news. Some big musician or movie star, whatever. And people are all sad about it. They type about it on the forums, on social media, and all boo-hoo-hoo, and how tragic, how terrible it is. The New York Times writes a big post about it. Time magazine puts the picture of their face everywhere. You see it at the supermarket shelves. You see everybody's, eulogizing how great this person was, yada, yada, yada. When a bird dies, a pigeon, outside in your neighborhood, what? Does anybody care? Does it get splattered all over the evening news? No, nobody gives a fuck. But what's the difference? Is there a difference? Is there really a difference? If you were truly objective, if you were like an alien from outer space sitting on a UFO just looking down with your telescope, would there be any difference? Of course not. Of course not. The value of the life of a bird is no less than the value of the life of some celebrity. And yet, look how differently we treat them. Why? Because we're so goddamn partial and unobjective. So if you really want to have the proper perspective, a high elevation perspective of the whole universe, you need to step outside of all this crap, all this partial stuff that you're doing. And you need to start to become objective.